Try again. Okay. My name is Rachel Pellison. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And today I have brought on Karina Sandberg, aka the Mango Mama, which I absolutely love that name. And Karina is a certified holistic health coach, and she has a beautiful story to share about topical steroid withdrawal on the medical medium journey. So welcome, Karina. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is so exciting.
I know. And so first I wanted to ask you, like, give us like the background journey of what you struggled with and how it led you to medical medium.
Okay. Well, it started when I was a baby. I developed eczema about 3 months old. And my mom, of course, took me to plenty of doctors and pediatricians who recommended that that she use topical steroids on me. So that's what she did, topical steroids and immunosuppressants, like topical immunosuppressants. So that's what we did basically my whole life. And every time we went to the doctor, we would just get like a new prescription for the more powerful and higher dosage. And I was never told that there were any side effects aside from thinning of the skin. And so I just used them pretty freely because that's what I was told to do. I was never told to take any breaks from them, so I didn't. Then let's say in high school, I developed some anxiety and depression for which I was prescribed antidepressants. And I took those for a few years and then eventually stopped. I don't even remember like how or why, but maybe I just felt better. Then in college, I got breast implants. And I can't pinpoint when all my symptoms started, but I think it was after getting breast implants. And I started having trouble sleeping. I developed insomnia, for which I treated with just like over-the-counter sleep aids, and that would get me to sleep. And it was fine. I didn't really think about it because I was sleeping and I was still able to live my life. Then I graduated college and I met my husband, well, now my ex. And then I really started getting symptoms. Like I started feeling really fatigued all the time, and my depression and anxiety came back, and I had a hard time concentrating. I just felt brain fog. Just like, things started to pile on. And then we got married and I got pregnant and we had our son. And after giving birth to my son is when things like really started happening. And during my labor, I remember them testing me for group B strep because they have to give you antibiotics in the hospital if you test positive for that, which I obviously did. So, and that reminds me, I took like so many antibiotics over the course of my life. So these are all the like puzzle pieces I put together as I think about my health story. And once my son was about 5 or 6 months old, I was breastfeeding, and I had one doctor tell me that I could try this like miracle drug as long as I wasn't breastfeeding, and it was going to clear up my skin. Because during my pregnancy, I stopped using the prescribed topical steroids and I used the over-the-counter ones. And I think that was my first taste of topical steroid withdrawal, because every night, like clockwork, it's like my body would get so hot and inflamed and itchy, where like I remember one time I literally took a pair of scissors and opened it and like removed it, and I took the blade and I just scratched my skin because it wouldn't, like I could not quench the itch. It was so deep and intense. And then, so at around 5 or 6 months, or when my son was 5 or 6 months old, I stopped breastfeeding per this doctor's suggestion that I could try this miracle drug. And I went back to him. I said, I stopped breastfeeding, give me the drug. And he's like, oh no, actually, you don't qualify for that. Sorry. And so I was so upset because I had this idea that I was going to breastfeed until he weaned and blah, blah, blah. So, so then I found a functional medicine doctor, and she told me, you need to stop using the steroids completely because otherwise it's going to affect all the lab tests we're going to do, because we need to test your adrenals and hormones, et cetera, et cetera. And I kind of just like brushed it off. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then a few months later, maybe like a month later, I happened to run out of a tube, and I just kind of took that as a sign, like, okay, maybe let's give this a shot. I had been interested in natural healing, but I wasn't like fully there yet. Within hours, I want to say, of not using the steroids. Because mind you, I would put it on like every time I had an itch, I would just rub steroids on it. So like all day, every day, hourly almost, I would put on these steroids because that's what I was advised. So within hours of stopping using the steroids, it was like my whole body went crazy. I like puffed up. I was super inflamed. My skin was so, I mean, I happen to have this book right here. My skin was like as red as this apple, okay? And like from like 3 feet away, you could feel the heat and inflammation like emanating off my body. The itch was so intense. It was literally like bone deep, like could not be satisfied with just itching. You have to break the skin and bleed to quench that itch. And I was like, what is going on? This is crazy. And I don't think I went to a dermatologist because at this point I was like, what are they going to do? They're going to give me more steroids. They're going to tell me exactly what I don't want to hear. So I was just Googling, and like one day I found a picture of this guy who his skin looked exactly like mine, like really red and dry and like coming off like a snake skin almost. And he had a blog, and I read his blog, and I was like, oh my God, this is what's happening to me. And I found the term topical steroid addiction and withdrawal, otherwise known as red skin syndrome. And so I found the doctor, the only doctor in the United States that was currently studying and doing like scientific studies on this disease or illness or whatever you want to call it. And so I reached out to him. I hired him to do teleconsulting or telemedicine. And he confirmed, like after going through all my history, et cetera, he confirmed that I had red skin syndrome and that it was going to take me probably up to 4 years to heal due to my chronic use of steroids. Mind you, it's now been like 6 years. So, and he said, and I also told him, like, I have all these other symptoms. Like, what about the brain fog and the food allergies that I developed overnight after stopping the steroids because I'm now anaphylactic to dairy? He's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. Like, and he didn't even believe me that I had food allergies. I'm like, I used to eat chocolate and pizza every single day. And now you're telling me, even though I have scientific proof, I got lab results showing that I have these allergies, like you're telling me I don't have allergies. So I kind of like little by little started losing trust in doctors because every time I went to a doctor, they're like, no, this is not happening to you. And I'm like, I'm living it. You can't tell me it's not happening. It's happening, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's the general story of my whole entire health history summarized.
Yeah. And then, so what was your next step? Like, did you find medical medium after that?
No. So per my functional medicine doctor, I got on the autoimmune paleo diet. Yeah. So I cut out all processed foods. I cut out sugar. I cut out a lot of carbs. I was doing high protein, high fat, low carb, a lot of bacon, eggs, and all that stuff. And I will admit that cutting out all the processed foods and like sugar and that kind of stuff was helpful. I put my Hashimoto's into remission, or like basically no longer saw antibodies for my Hashimoto's just doing that. So I like to give like full disclosure about that. Like it wasn't medical medium that healed my Hashimoto's. It was just cutting out processed foods and at least changing my factory farm animals to grass-fed, organic, pasture-raised animals. Then I did a Whole30, which is like a cleanse, a paleo cleanse.
Yeah.
And, and by the end of that, I felt so horrible. My digestion was wrecked. It was like my body couldn't keep up with the amount of fat it had to process. And so it was over creating bile, and I would go to the bathroom and it would just be like pure bile. And it was so painful and uncomfortable. And that lasted for months. It wouldn't go away. I saw another functional medicine doctor. He gave me but he was just like a regular doctor who happened to get, you know, the credentials for functional medicine, but I could tell that wasn't actually his modality. You know, he was here's a drug that can help you, but it's a more natural drug, you know? And so again, that wasn't for me. So it was almost like overnight, I started being really disgusted by my eggs, where I would like eat them and I would start like gagging as I was eating them. And then at the same time, I started seeing all these repeating numbers like 1111, which is why my Instagram handle is Mango Mama 1111. And I started like everywhere I went, I would see 1111 multiple times a day. And so I started looking it up. And I was like, what does this mean? And I took it to mean that I was getting signs from angels, or my angels, that I was about to like embark on a spiritual awakening. Which
yes. You're giving me chills. Give me chills.
And I feel like that's exactly what happened, because then almost like in the same exact time period, I started seeing like medical medium pop up on like my Instagram, and I read like one, I don't even remember exactly how I came to the book, but basically I felt like I was called to the book. So when I finally got my hands on it and I started reading it, I mean, I must have read it in like 24 hours. I have never felt my intuition activated like it was when I read this book. I was like, it was truly like coming home to the truth. Like, this is the information I have been waiting for and looking for, and I don't have to search anymore. Like, this is it for me anyway. I don't push it on anyone else, but for me, this is it. And so overnight, I cut out all animals, all like eggs, bacon, all the crap I was eating. And I started bringing in fruit and carbs, and like immediately I lost 5 pounds. I had like so much more energy. And it was just like amazing. Then I started detoxing.
Yeah.
And it was intense. It was really intense.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. But I think I have a not necessarily unique story or history, but I just happen to have a very high toxic and viral load. So that when I started doing the things that my body wanted me to do, it really purged a lot of crap. So that's how I found medical medium. And that was about 3.5 years ago. And I've never looked back.
That's amazing. Yeah. You had a serious journey to like get to your truth, right?
Yeah. But I'm so grateful now.
But I love how you said that it was so like divinely inspired, and you kept seeing that 1111 number. Because Anthony says that if the information in his books or his radio shows resonates with you, it's because you are connected to your intuition. And so it's just a really beautiful community to be a part of, because it is a lot of people who are really connected to their intuition and really seeking the truth, even though sometimes the detox can be very difficult, and eating in a very different way than a lot of other people can also be challenging at times. So you went through a lot of detox, and tell us about like what that was like for you.
Oh, it was really, really hard. My skin was so painful, and mind you, it had been painful. So it was nothing new. I guess I just hoped that now that I had found the answer, that it would be like smooth sailing after that. But that wasn't the case. So I'm going to rewind a little bit. Like the first year I started detoxing the steroids when I was doing paleo, I was not able to leave my house for like an entire year. I couldn't wash my hands. I couldn't prepare foods for my son, myself, my family. I couldn't touch any of my loved ones. It was really hard, to say the least. So once I started on medical medium, not only was I detoxing, but I was meeting opposition from everybody I knew. Like, why would you want to limit yourself to just these foods? Like, we can't go out to eat. You're not going to cook me meat, et cetera, et cetera. So emotionally it was hard, and physically it was hard, but spiritually, like, I wasn't budging. Like, this is what and I wasn't going to be like pushed in another direction. But with that said, I was suffering a lot. And so was my family, because they were watching me suffer and watching my like skin ooze and bleed and crack and be super painful and cry like every single day because of the pain. And I would cry taking a bath because showers were like acid rain on my skin. So we had to like renovate the whole bathroom to accommodate these needs. And I ended up actually getting on an immunosuppressant on medical medium because the detox was so intense, I couldn't bear it. And if it was just me and I only had myself to worry about, I would have just pushed through. But because I had a son, like a baby, and a husband and a family, like his mom lived with us and she was also, her health wasn't great. So because I had other people to consider, I was like, I'm going to get on this immunosuppressant. One, it'll give me a little bit of relief. Two, I'm in the healing game for the long term. So yes, this is going to slow down my healing because it's going to impact my liver. But at the same time, I'm okay with that because, I've already put 2 years of detoxing the steroids, and so I didn't mind. I knew it was going to take a long time to heal. It took me so long to get to this level of ill health that I was just like, whatever. So anyway, so I got on this immunosuppressant.
I just want to say, I think that's a really important point that, sometimes you need medication in order to make it through the healing journey. I know, I feel like sometimes, all the pharmaceuticals get this, horrible,
they get a bad rap.
Yeah, a bad rap. And yes, they are not good for us, but sometimes they are tools that are necessary in order to facilitate healing. And so I really want to drive that home because I find that some people want to just get off every med immediately. And I don't recommend that people do that. It's a slow, gradual process. And sometimes you need to bring something on board, or you need to really, really slowly, gradually wean off of things because you definitely, when you're in such a state like you were, you need help. It's not that's one of the great things about modern medicine that we, often forget. There's a lot that's wrong with it, right? But but there are tools in there that sometimes we have to pull out and use. And so I don't want anyone out there, if you are still taking medications or if you're taking biologics or immunosuppressants or whatever, don't have any shame about that. It's really important that you know that you can still be part of this medical medium community. You can still be supported and you can still heal. And that for some people, that's the right thing to do. So I just want to drive that home for everybody.
I completely agree. To this day, I carry Benadryl and EpiPens in my purse because I have an anaphylactic food allergy. And I would be dead if I didn't have those, in my arsenal. So I completely agree on that point for sure.
Yeah, on that point.
Yeah. But I lost track of where we were.
So you started on the immunosuppressant.
Oh yeah. So I started on the immunosuppressants, which was actually a chemotherapy drug. So I did chemo for my skin apparently. And after about a year or something, I started getting some bad liver numbers because you have to get lab work every month when you're on this drug because it's super toxic, right? So I knew it was going to be a short-term drug, and by short-term, 6 months to a year was what short-term was for me. But after about a year, I started to taper off, and my skin was still really bad underneath. And there was a new drug that was coming out that was less toxic. So that was my plan, was to get on this new drug, which was a biologic called Dupixent. And it was just coming out, and it was supposed to be the wonder drug for eczema. My doctor, the one who specializes in topical steroid withdrawal, he was very much against this drug. I still don't know why, but he's all about the cyclosporin and not about the Dupixent. So I just stopped going to him. And I just went to my local dermatologist, who I ended up seeing at PA, a physician's assistant, which I really love PAs.
Totally.
Yes. I feel like they're a lot more compassionate and they sit down and they listen to you. So personally, I would prefer a PA over a doctor. But anyways, so she got me on a biologic and it didn't do anything. It took 6 months to even start working for my skin. And then 6 months later, it still hadn't cleared up my skin. And I had been working with my own coaches at the time, and medical medium practitioners. And I kept getting the feeling that the drugs were not helping anymore, and they were just harming at this point. And so intuitively, I just knew it was time to get off the drug. And at this point, I was about 2 years into medical medium. And my coach at the time, who's also an intuitive coach, she got the same feeling. I think that it's hurting your liver, and once you get off, that your skin's actually going to improve. And what happened was, when I got off, my skin improved drastically.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's not to say that, well, I don't really know. If I had done it earlier, obviously my skin wasn't ready. I hadn't done enough detoxing for it to, impact my skin on that level. But I think with 2 years under my belt of doing the whole protocol, celery juice, heavy metal detox, lots of fruit, lots of carbs, low fat, etc., at that point, my skin had healed enough from the inside that it was ready to be done with the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So also during that time, since I was on the drugs, I gave myself a little goal, like, well, if I'm going to be on this drug for my skin, I might as well use this time to try to taper off my antidepressants and anti-anxiety medicine, because I had been asymptomatic for a long time. And I felt like it was time. So I detoxed very, very slowly. I weaned off Zoloft, so I want to drive that point home to anybody watching. Like, just like you said, it's so important to really do it mindfully and know that you're ready in the right place to be able to do it. Like, I waited years to be able to get off this medication when I felt like the time was right. And then I did it, and I created a taper schedule, which took about 6 months to go from my full dose to off. And I didn't have a single symptom the entire time. Whereas before, when I tried to get off the drug, I felt like I was going crazy. Like, legitimately was Googling mental hospitals that I could check myself into, because I knew I couldn't have done it alone in the past, right? And this time, like, not a single symptom. And I totally accredit that to doing the inner work and pulling out these toxins and killing these viruses to be able to treat the root cause, Yeah. So then finally I'm off my antidepressant, anti-anxiety medicine. I'm off the skin medication. And the last medication I was on was an antihistamine that really helped me sleep. Like, it didn't really prevent any itching, but it helped me sleep because I still have insomnia. And then eventually I got off that as well, because I found out it had a dairy protein in it, and I'm allergic to dairy. And so now I'm medication free, and I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. My skin is not 100% healed, but it's like better than it's ever been off medication. I've never been able to be off medication in my entire life, So the fact that I'm able to, like, live my life without medications is kind of like really amazing. And I'm so grateful for it.
It's huge. That's a huge, huge accomplishment, because you clearly, you were born with eczema, got it like in infancy, like you had a big toxic burden, and it just got suppressed and suppressed and suppressed and suppressed for so many years. And so you literally were detoxing like decades of suppressed dermatoxins. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I just want to speak to, like, what you're saying, like, you're so grateful to be in this space. You're off medication. You're still working on, healing up the tail end of your skin issues. And I also want to make the point that, like, I think sometimes we see these, like, rapid, beautiful healing stories where someone's like, I drank celery juice for 90 days and everything is like peaches and cream and I have $1 million in my bank account. And, like, that's really not how healing happens with 99.9% of people. Even myself, I never had, like, a really significant chronic illness or anything. I had some psoriasis. I had some hyperthyroidism in pregnancy. I had a lot of EBV symptoms in pregnancy. I had, like, some sleep disturbances, but, like, was quote unquote healthy. And my detox in the first year was intense, and there were days where I was, like, on the couch and I was like, oh man, like, I gotta slow down. Like, I can't handle this. And I'm not, I was a healthy person. So I want to, like, drive home, like, don't think that this healing protocol is, like, a quick fix, because it's not. It's a really deep physical healing. You're healing inherited toxins. You're healing emotional issues that are happening in your relationship, right? Like, you were like, physically, emotionally, I was a mess. And you're like, spiritually, I was rock solid. I was not budging. And you're developing your spirituality, and you're developing your faith and your compassion. And it's literally a journey. It is not I'm going to do this for 3 months or 6 months or even 9 months or a year and be done. It's really a long-term journey. But the beautiful thing is that as you progress through it, you learn so much. And I'm sure you can attest to, like, the depth of your spirituality and your intuition grows infinitely.
Oh, yes.
And then Yeah. So once you get past the physical aspects of healing, like you're medication free, then like everything in your life starts to shift. You know, you've done so much deep healing work on, you know, the medical medium protocols are all about like healing chronic illness and mystery symptoms. But I got to tell you, these are like a spiritual development tool. They are an emotional cleansing tool. Like they heal mind, body, and spirit all around. All right, giving it back to you now. Yeah, it's a beautiful tool. So tell me, like, what was your kind of like spiritual awakening or journey through this whole process too?
Oh man. I don't know. Like, I mean, I told you about like the beginning part where I just started getting all these signs. And then over time, I just kind of stopped believing in coincidences and started believing in the divine guidance all around me. And I felt like the more I listened to and honored my intuition, the better it worked and like the more it grew. And now I just feel like I'm in alignment with my like true self. You know, I think before this, I was happy, I was fine, you know, but I didn't have a passion. Oh, I lost you. Oh, okay, you're back.
You're back.
I didn't have a passion. I didn't have like a direction I really wanted to go in life. I was working for my husband's company as the office manager, which is fine. But it wasn't like, I was always the kind of person that felt like I wanted to work with my passion. I just didn't know what it was, you know? So along doing this whole protocol, I discovered that natural healing is my passion. And it's funny because like my mom has always been into health stuff and she had a Vitamix before I was born. And so it was like I was prepared for this life long before it ever happened. And that's another reason why I just believe in divine guidance, because I don't think any of this was a coincidence. I think that my whole entire journey with illness was preparing me to help others through the same suffering, you know, because I found a lot of opposition in doctors' offices and I felt like I was gaslighted a lot and not like seen, heard, valued, or any of that. And where I felt most safe was with a coach, you know, someone like yourself or someone like my medical medium practitioners. They understood what I was going through. They heard me, they saw me, and they believed me, you know, and that was, I think, really important for my healing, was just to have someone believe me, you know, and I'm going to cry talking about it.
I love it.
But it shaped me into the person I am now, into the woman. And I've never felt more empowered or like happy and joyful and grateful and just all those like high vibrations that I've always wanted to feel truthfully, but like it was never there. You know, I felt like it was just out of reach. I would see people and they would seem so happy and vibrant. And I'm like, why can't I have that? And now I do. And it just feels amazing.
Yeah.
So I think you're so right. It's more than just like a dietary protocol. It really, I personally feel like these are the foods that God meant us to have. And the more that we're in alignment with what God created us to be, the higher we can live to our calling and our purpose and just all of it.
Yeah, you can reach for more love, more joy, more abundance. You can, they're high vibrational foods. You know, the processed foods are dead and stripped of nutrients. The animal products are dead and full of adrenaline and stress. And so when you shift to those raw plant foods, they're so high vibrational that they really do, like, they help you elevate so quickly. And then that helps you to connect more fully to your intuition. I always say, like, you know, clean up your vessel, your body, and then the emotions become extremely clear, and the emotions become a tool that help you and guide you. They no longer become like a burden or like, why do I feel like this? What's going on? How do I get rid of this? It's like, okay, I'm feeling sadness. Why? Where is it coming from? I just need to feel this for a minute. And then here's how I need to like process and heal it. And then like, you're done. It's the craziest, it's the most amazing thing.
I know.
Yeah. And then once like your physical body is clean and your emotions become clear, then that guidance, like divine guidance, comes in so quickly and so powerfully, and your ability to resonate with it grows so rapidly. And that's been like my biggest space for healing is, I've had tremendous physical healing, but the emotional and spiritual aspects of it have been just my favorite part of doing these protocols. Like I would do it all over again for more emotional and spiritual healing. And it's just such a gentle and supportive process. And when you work with the practitioners who understand you and support you and see you and hear you, then that receiving compassion is such a powerful aspect of healing. When you go to a practitioner who doesn't believe you, gives you like stock answers, tells you, no, you're wrong, doesn't, trust your own doesn't believe in intuition. It's really disempowering, and it lowers your immune system, and you can't heal when you're in that space of fear and makes you question yourself. So find, like, everybody watching this, find a practitioner who makes you feel seen. And they honestly don't have to be like the smartest practitioner or know every detail of whatever. I like fully support people seeing coaches and healers that resonate with them. That's way more important than any credential or training or schooling or beautiful social media ads that anyone has. Like, healing is about that person-to-person interaction and that giving of compassion. That is like truly what helps people to heal, because you give them permission to step into their own intuition. And that's become my next level of my journey in healing, is to empower people, and especially women, because that's who I work with, to step into their power and access their intuition so they can become their own greatest healer. So like, you don't need me, you don't need another practitioner, you don't need anyone. Like, you can just, it's nice to have a check-in and a fill-up, but like, you can heal yourself from anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. We're on the same page with that whole.
We're totally on the same page with like all of it.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Is there anything else you want to share, or like tips for healing with people?
I guess I just want to share, like, a lot of people, when I post before and after pictures or like part of my journey, that's when I get the most like interaction from people. And they always want to know, like, what'd you do? How soon did you heal? And at first I really thought I had to go like raw vegan to heal. I was like, I saw these people and I thought that was the way. And I really held myself to a standard that was not attainable. And I remember doing the 28-day cleanse, like in the very beginning, and I stopped after 5 days because I just felt so horrible. I was detoxing so much. I had also stopped drinking coffee at the same time, so it was like horrible. But and then I realized for me that the best way to do it was like slow and steady. And at that point, I decided I was not going to do any more cleanses, and I was just going to do it in a way that was sustainable for me. And for me, that means following my intuition, eating what I feel like is calling to me that day, which might be a bunch of fruit or smoothies or juices and big salads, but also like a ton of potatoes and cooked vegetables. And I think there's nothing wrong with having cooked foods in your diet. Like, you're still going to heal if you eat cooked foods,
Yes, totally.
For me, it was like really, I had to like work around that a lot, this fear that I'm not going to heal unless I eat all raw foods. And for me, also eating all raw foods was kind of miserable. Like, I just wanted some potatoes, like,
Yeah.
I guess what, potatoes are super healing. So there's nothing wrong with that, So that's definitely something I want to leave people with. And also, like, when you were saying something about like finding a coach and someone where you feel seen and heard, like, I totally agree with that. And the one thing I want to say, like, regarding doctors, because I do have now an innate distrust in doctors, unfortunately, but there are ones that I really respect. And the ones that I respect and love are always the ones that are compassionate, that will listen to you and take into account what you're saying and then adjust what they will recommend based on what you're saying, rather than just speaking what they think and what you should do. It's like, no, like, if you're gonna, I don't think that anyone should never see a doctor again. We need them for certain situations. And like, Like there's just I was seeing on Instagram some story of some guy who fasted to death, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm sure in his community, he's revered for being like this amazing detox, whatever guy, but like he literally fasted to death, you know? Like don't just follow people blindly, use your intuition as needed and you can heal, but like also don't be afraid of doctors, you know? Like you can also use your intuition. If this doctor's not for you, then find a different one, you know?
Yeah,
But there are compassionate ones out there. I
there
mean,
are.
mind you, I haven't seen a doctor in like over a year or so, but that's because I don't need to. I'm not on any medication that requires like overseeing or anything. And if I get a cold, like I'm not going to the doctor. I know what to do, you know?
Yeah.
Now, if I like broke something or needed surgery for something, like this is where I want to be. This is the kind of service I want. But anyways, the whole point is you can really use your intuition to heal mostly, but you can also use your intuition as guidance for like who you use in your support circle, you know? And I really, I just really believe in using your intuition, and this protocol will help grow that intuition, which is the best.
It turns it up a lot. It really
sure.
does.
And also be careful with steroids because they're not benign.
Yes, go easy on the steroid. Topical, oral, all steroids, not benign at all.
No, all drugs have side effects, okay? And they all build up in your system. So even if you take them as a short-term, you know, relief or respite, just know that you're going to have to also detox those out.
Yeah, definitely. You have to detox stuff from your whole life when you get to this space.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was just such a beautiful healing story. And I'm so glad that you shared this with us. And I can't wait to see where your coaching business goes in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been such an honor to like have this conversation with you and connect again. And I'm sure we'll be seeing lots more of Karina. And I feel like we need to be doing some things together too. Like
I know. Let's
some
talk
events
about
or
retreat
something.
action.
Yes, definitely. I'll come down to Florida and do a retreat with you.
Yes.
All right, good stuff. So find Karina at mangomama.com, right?
Yes.
Or on Instagram at mangomama11.11. And you guys have all the links below to find me. I'll link Karina in the text below the video as well. And so thank you so much again, Karina, and so honored to have shared this time and space with you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such
You're
a
welcome.
pleasure.
All right. Oops, hold on. Stop recording.